Hello guys, it's Broski here. Today I'll be showing you what I do for sniping in general. Alright, video. I turn all the additional effects off and turn motion blur down to 0. And also I have my FOV on 84, but I recommend you to start it at 74 and then just actually find whatever you're comfortable with and stick to it, alright? And don't change it much often unless you need to. I think like other than that, yeah, we go to audio. I have my music turned down to 0, and then I set my headphone and audio. I put configuration to surrounding because I have a surround headset. And other than that, let's move on to gameplay. I turn on hand motion off because I don't like it. I don't like the elements to be moving around. And here the most important thing is your hit indicator. Like let's say for example all of these hit indicators are on white color, and then excuse me, let's say you hit a target and then just pops out a white indicator. Like you don't know for a fact if the guy is dead or you need to have a follow-up shot. So once you set it up like different colors and stuff, you know for the fact, okay, this guy is not dead and I need to have a follow-up shot, or okay, he's dead, let me move on to the next one. I think it's really helpful. You should see whatever you like, which color you prefer, and set them on. And also turn the damage base shape on. It's really important, really. And I think that's all. Other than that, I'm gonna move on. If you want, you can pause the video and copy these settings of mine if you want to. Other than that, I'm gonna move on to the gameplay advance. Alright, for sniping in general, you have to turn both aim assist off. On default, you will have this on, and if you do not turn this off, you won't have full control of your scope and you won't have full control of your rifle. A perfect example would be let's say if I have this on, this aim assist on, and then I'm on ADS, I line up a perfect target, or I'm about to get a headshot, and then before I pull the trigger and a second target just run across my scope, alright? And what this aim assist that, it will drag my scope to the second guy who's running across, who I wasn't even paying attention in the first place, and causing me to get shot in the first place by the first guy who I was shooting at in the first place. Really, if you want to have full control of your rifle, full control of your scope, I recommend you to turn this off. It's really not helpful, alright? Trust me on this, it's just not helping. Your pistol will suck. Other than that, yeah, you can get better over time with your pistol, but sniping is about your primary, because these effects, they are still on whether you play on 3x scope or 6x scope, really. I think that's all. Like other than that, I'm gonna move on to control. I play on 100 sensitivity, really, but if you're a new player, I would recommend you to start it off at 50 and then gradually change it, increases it. And zoom sensitivity, I have it on 85. I used to play on 100. The reason I turned it down to 85 is because I used to over aim a lot when I'm engaging targets outside of 150 meters peripheral, so it was kind of insane for me. So I turned it down, by 15%, and it made a big difference. And again, soldier aim sensitivity and soldier zoom sensitivity, these two are really personal preference. Everyone is different, so I wouldn't recommend changing this every time because you will mess up your muscle memory. And again, just find something that you're comfortable with and stick with it. I have soldier sprint on toggle, and I double tap with my left stick to run forward. And I have a steady scope on hold because I like to have full control of my scope, because whenever you toggle these things, you don't really have full control, meaning you don't know when the time will run out, or as soon as you press it, it's done. But with a steady scope, okay, you can strafe left to right, hold your breath. And other than that, I'm gonna move on to control scheme. Here I have, on default, you can see the difference, right? It's just melee circle, and then the crouching button is R3 because I flipped it, because when you're trying to crouch with circle and go back to your right stick, there is too much motion going on, right? Let's say if you're in a gunfight, you want to just crouch and up, there is too much motion going on, and that can get you killed because of there's too much hand gestures going on at the same time too, right? So what I did, I just flipped to alternate, and I have my crouch and my directional stick with the right stick. It's really big helpful. And here we have acceleration. I turned it down to 0 because I don't like the stick acceleration. It made a big difference for me in BF1, and again it did. Uniform soldier aiming on, by default you will have this off. What I recommend is to turn it on. On default you will have a coefficient of 133. I wouldn't change that unless you know for the fact, if you know what you're doing. The reason I turn it down to 50 here is because when I scoped in with a 6x scope, I realized I have less sway on my scope. The lower the coefficient is. So I'm like, okay, 50% is best for me. And again, I will tell you to experiment with this and see really what's best for you. But if you don't want to change it, I would recommend you to leave it at 133. Alright, other than that, I'm gonna move on. I didn't change anything here. Alright, vertical aim ratio. I turn this on value to 85, the same as my zoom sensitivity, because it makes everything feels natural. And other than that, we have vibration. I turn vibration off because it throw me off when I'm sniping. And stick dead zone. What stick dead zone is how much you need to push your stick to make an effect. Meaning for your controller to recognize the signal and then send the signal to your PS4 or your console, alright? And here I would recommend you to, for the right stick and the left stick, I would recommend you to leave both on 10 and then leave the threshold at 100. But again, these are my settings, alright? It's personal preference. Just see whatever works for you. I think that's all. And